Welcome. Welcome to Cheltenham Science Festival and the final of FameLab International. A really exciting evening for you. My name's Louise Emerson. I'm the CEO of Cheltenham Festivals. And we have over 27 countries taking part in FameLab International this year. That's quite something. And although tonight is a final, I think the 9 finalists here, and even indeed the 27 semi-finalists, are all really winners. They've come so far. And we couldn't really do this on an international basis without our long-term partner, the British Council, both the British Council in London and wider across the world. So thank you very much to the British Council. And FameLab has actually now spawned a little daughter or son called FameLab Academy. And that is for a younger age group. It's for young people who haven't gone to university yet. And I'm really pleased that our winner from FameLab Academy is here tonight, actually, in the audience. So he'll be looking for some tips. And now I want to hand over to Quentin Cooper, who will be our host for this evening. Thank you very much. Have a great time.
Thank you, Louise. Thank you. That was Louise Emerson, CEO of Cheltenham Festival. So thank you. Yes, I'm Quentin Cooper. Tweeting is @QWERTY, as I have to say in this modern world of yours. And it is a great pleasure to be here for the FameLab International Final Again, or FIFA for short. The FIFA that you can trust. So we are in a celebratory mood tonight because it is Angelina Jolie's 40th birthday. No, hang on, that's not it. As well as all the things that Louise said, tonight marks the 10th anniversary of FameLab. 10 years. That's a decade in old money. What started as a UK-only event right here in Cheltenham, or more accurately there, because it was in a smaller tent to start with, that was back in 2005. That was when the internet hadn't been invented, shoes were a new concept, and ice cream only came in 2 flavours. Then, after genetic modification from the British Council, it's mutated from competition to contagion, going right across the planet. There are now, as Louisa said, dozens of countries involved, thousands of participants, and finals in every continent barring Antarctica. And we are working on Antarctica. And that is not a joke, we really are. This is now the world's, and to the best of our knowledge, the universe's largest science communication competition. We welcome contact from alien worlds to disprove this theory as well. It's a science smackdown that in some countries is seen by TV audiences in excess of 20 million, although not so many in the UK. Many former FameLabbers are now successful faces on stage and on screen. This year, CERN have run their own version of FameLab. We'll get back to that in a minute. And, of course, we've had NASA running their own version of FameLab as well. And as Louise already mentioned, we now have our mutant offspring of FameLab Academy. And as she said, Henry Cannon, the first winner, is in the audience. Henry, if you're there, I think you should get a little bow. Are you there? Can we get lights up? So that's brilliant, Henry. I haven't even had to do anything this time as well. It's fantastic. Now, Henry is a potential future face of science communication. If I were Johnny Ball's agent, I'd be getting in touch now, because the new Cannon and Ball, I think that's got potential, I think, there as well. Now, being our 10th anniversary, it's very tempting to share a few stories. I've been here since the very beginning. I hosted the very first FameLab 10 years ago, and there's all sorts of stories I could tell, like, for instance, how even before the very first FameLab final, one very well-known judge announced that one of the finalists was clearly far and away better than all the others, which, not surprisingly, caused some of the other finalists to be somewhat upset. A couple of them were even in tears. Unfortunately, he turned out to be wrong. Fortunately, he picked somebody who wasn't the winner. But that was nearly a bad day. I can't tell you who that judge was, except to say, well, maybe Moustache Peerage shares a name with a wartime Prime Minister. There are many other stories I could tell, but this is not a competition where we've got time for reminiscences. FameLab has always been about looking to the future, to identify and help promote the future faces of science communication, showcasing them. And as Louise said, this is our biggest year yet, 27 winners coming to Cheltenham. That meant for the first time having 3 semi-finals. And for reasons that stretch credibility, credulity, and sanity, we had them all back-to-back yesterday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. I am knackered. And that also meant, of course, we didn't know who was going to be in the final till then, so I've had to write my script after then. So, to borrow a line from Kate Bush, be kind to my mistakes. Was anybody here, by the way, who was at all 3 of the semi-finals yesterday? Oh, well, obviously you're FameLabbers. Of course you were there. That's right. Right, the rest of you, great. Okay, that's well done. And anyone a FameLab novice, a complete first-timer who's wondering about what this nostalgia is for something you've no idea about? Okay, well, great. I'm glad you're here for the first time. Basically, as an introduction, as long as your vaccinations are up to date and you're wearing something reasonably fluid-proof, you should get through the evening okay. Alternatively, the rules are really very simple. The key details are each of our 9 finalists has 3 minutes to convey something of the magnificence and significance of science, the wow and the how, after which they are interrogated charmingly by our trio of judges for a couple of minutes. No high-tech things like PowerPoint allowed, only the props that you can log on and off yourself within your time, and they have to do a different presentation from the one they did yesterday. Although, since I'm telling this to you, the people who are new here, that won't make a blind bit of difference to you. Now, everyone you're about to see here has already won through heats and national finals and the international semi-finals yesterday. They've all done brilliantly to do this far. They're also, remember, many of them doing it in a language that's not their first and in some cases not their second. Like I say, it is a great achievement, but tonight only one of them will walk away, or possibly skip. How they move is entirely up to them, with a grand prize of an Apple Watch, woo! Courtesy of our sponsors EDF, the trophy, and most significantly, the singular honour of being International FameLab Champion 2015. Now, who that here will be is partly down to what each of our finalists does with their 3 minutes, but mostly based on past experiences, to the unpredictable and often unfathomable decisions of our judges. So, let's bring them on. Our chair is an ex-director of cardiovascular biology at Pfizer, member of numerous boards and committees, including the Science Museum Advisory Board, and also chaired Cheltenham Science Festival when FameLab began. Please welcome Dr. Jill Samuels. Are you seated?
I only paid him £10 for that.
Only £10, £1 a year, that's a great rate, right. Next, someone who shot to fame last year for what will soon be apparent, his tattoos, his terrible taste in shirts, and his tendency to lose his own cars in car parks, and also for sending something the size of a washing machine on a 6 billion kilometre journey to land on a speeding comet. Please welcome project scientist of the Rosetta mission, Dr. Matt Taylor. And finally, managing editor of Scottish newspaper publishers the Herald and Times Group, chair of Alba Gaia, whose products include the world's fastest test for the bacteria that cause Legionnaire's disease, and member of the British Council's Board of Trustees, Tom Thompson.
Thank you very much.
So, Jill, you may not remember this, but when I was doing some research for this, which may seem a weird concept already, the very week that the first FameLab appeared, 10 years ago, there was also a piece about you in the Daily Telegraph with the headline, or it began with the line, "At least 25 million men have a big reason to thank Dr. Jill Samuels because of your leading role in the development of Viagra." Now, I don't think FameLab can quite match Viagra yet in terms of its impact on the world, but has it made much of a difference over these last 10 years?
Well, it's certainly given rise to more blue jokes.
Thank you very much indeed. apart from the smutty material, Jill, anything positive to say about FameLab over the decade?
Oh, yes, I think it goes to prove that science is an international language, and the diversity and inclusivity that FameLab has brought to science communication is something for which we ought to be duly thankful to the person who suggested it, Kathy Sykes.
The great Kathy Sykes, round of applause. Kathy Sykes, founding co-director of the Cheltenham Science Festival. And I said we're not going to indulge in reminiscences, but I'll allow you one if you've got one. Any favourite FameLab memory?
Oh, that you had more hair when we started.
It's really not true. I've really not had much hair. Now, Matt, one thing could be said that you and FameLab have in common is you've both helped change for the public the image of scientists. They don't think when they see FameLabbers of scientists as being old white guys with beards, and when they look at you, well, they've got the beard bit, but the rest is different.
Yeah, apparently I am, but I'm on the edge of being young now, so I'm old in comparison to the people that are going to be talking today, and I'm pretty honoured to be on stage, actually, to be in the position to judge these people, and I'm going to be taking tips, actually.
I think honoured and taking tips is the right attitude for our judges. I wish more of them were like that. And Tom, unlike the judges, everybody here tonight has fought and won through various heats for the right to be on this stage. Right. They are all national winners, but only one of them is going to be an international champion. What do you think will be you'll be looking for that will make the difference?
Well, I'm a sort of FameLab virgin, and also the only non-scientist in the panel, so I'm looking for clarity, simplicity for the layman, a bit of charisma, etc. So I think I add this sort of lay element to the experts on my right. That's what I'm looking for.
See, and just to show the ability of FameLab down the years to confound expectations, we started with Viagra and we ended with virginity there as well. So thank you one and all. It is a thankless task being a FameLab judge, so we thank you very much for doing it. You have to be crazy, wildly optimistic, or easily led to agree, precisely the qualities you're not looking for in a group of people to reach a reasoned and balanced decision. So can we have a round of applause, please, for our three judges? Now, fortunately, not everything depends on them. Besides the decision on a winner and two joint runners-up, who'll each get a plaque and champagne, there's also an audience prize, and that is entirely down to you. Now, I'll get on to how you vote later, but now, in the immortal words of James Clerk Maxwell, let's get this show on the road. I'm paraphrasing. What he actually says was the true logic of the world is the calculus of probabilities, but it carries the same meaning. Now, the order has been randomly determined. I'd love to say it involved quantum computers or a state-of-the-art number generator, but it was actually drawing names out of a hat after the last semi-final yesterday. And the first name out was Valentina Tereshkova. Now, obviously, that's a mistake. She was in last year's final. But we sorted the problem, and the first namer out was our odd woman out, Lilian Smiester. Now, it's odd because unlike all the other international FameLabbers, Lilian is not a national champion. She won a special one-off FameLab at CERN, the place where they have the Large Hadron Collider. Now, they staged the competition as part of CERN's 60th anniversary celebrations. There's only so many protons you can smash together before you need some form of entertainment. And Lilian, a Norwegian experimental particle physicist, was declared the winner. Now, interestingly, the day they found the Higgs boson at CERN was the day that Lilian says she was suddenly accelerated into science communication. Because as a Norwegian, all the Norwegian media suddenly wanted to talk to her as their country's representative in finding the Higgs boson. And she enjoyed it so much, she decided science communication was part of the future for her. Lilian says she thinks the world's an amazing place that deserves our admiration. And I think the world is coming to feel the same way about Lilian. So smash your hands together at high energy for our CERN champion, Lilian Smiester.
Have you ever wondered what would happen if you fell into a black hole? I have. Despite the sound of the name, black holes as a phenomena are no mystery. Anything made of matter can become a black hole if only made small enough. Take our Earth. If we compress it down to the size of a marble, it would be a black hole. In order to understand what is special about a black hole, we need to talk about gravity. Because what happens when gravity becomes immensely strong, as it does in the vicinity of a black hole, is rather funky. Fact 1 about gravity. You all experience every day that Earth's gravitational field pulls on you because you are massive. No offense. But gravity does not only influence the things that have mass, but also things that are completely massless, like light. Gravity can become so strong that not even the lightest of objects, light, can escape. Hence the name black hole. If you were to fall into a black hole, and let us assume that you wouldn't be ripped to pieces, the light reflected from the back of your head would be forced onto a circular path around the hole, returning to your eyes, which means you would be able to see the back of your own head. Ladies, ever wondered what your hair looks like? Black holes. Fact 2 about gravity. Not only does gravity influence things that are massless, it also influences time. If we had not known this, the GPS device in your mobile phone would not work properly. In order for it to do so, we need to account for the fact that time down here on Earth moves slightly slower than time up there at the satellites. So the stronger the gravity, the slower time. So as you fall into the black hole, I would see the watch on your arm going slower until hardly moving. In fact, I would never see you fall into the hole at all, only slow down as you were going in. To you, however, it would look like the watch on my arm was speeding up until going at an immense pace. You would see me grow old, wither, and die. You would see our Earth crumble. You would see our sun explode and our galaxy dissipate. You would see the end of the universe. If that isn't a spectacular way to go, I don't know what is. Thank you.
Wow, we've started with the end of the universe. Where do we go from here? You're now going to cross the event horizon of our judges.
We're going to start with Tom.
Well, I feel slightly spooked by black holes now. Can I just ask why you chose black hole as a topic? Why do you think it would interest the public?
Oh, there are so many reasons why black holes are an excellent place to start looking. For starters, there are quite some spectacular things going on there. It is on the borderline of our understanding because we can't combine gravity with quantum mechanics. And that's pretty much what collides in the sense of a black hole. So, yeah, I think that's why. Also, it relates to what I work with in the end. I want to see how antimatter falls in the Earth's gravitational field.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Actually, that was going to be my question. How does it link to what you do on a
Okay.
day-to-day basis?
Yeah.
So,
Sorry
guess,
for
that might
jumping
be
that
it.
one. Yeah.
All right, then. Well, what is antimatter then?
Right.
Bear in mind you're on the Earth, so you only get the normal time, not the expanded time. So
Oh, all right. Yeah. Well, we have a set of particles that we know as the fundamental building blocks of nature. And for each of those particles, it has an antiparticle, which is just the same as the ordinary particle, except from the fact that it has opposite electrical charge. So whenever matter and antimatter meet, they destroy each other and it's turned into pure energy. So I could tell you a lot about antimatter too. Another show.
we've got time for one more,
Yeah,
judges.
Okay.
Yes. How do you feel your experience of FameLab will influence what you do in the future?
I think FameLab would be quite important for me, actually, because I've learned a lot from attending this. I've met so many fantastic people who are so resourceful. So I think it would be an inspiration and help in order to know where and how to bring science to the public.
I just hope you realise that when you talk about the end of the universe in that English with that Norwegian accent, I kind of believe it's about to come any second now. One more time, please, for Lillian Smistad. And Lynn Smith said anagram of small isn't ideal, which isn't a great anagram for a particle physicist. Now, second up, we have our FameLab UK winner, Emma Maguire. Now, Emma's a speech and language therapist studying for a Master's in Clinical Anatomy at Queen's University in Belfast. But she says she loves shouting random science facts at people and wants to be a stand-up scientist, although I hope she realises there is more to being a stand-up scientist than simply shouting things like, about 65 billion neutrinos are going through your fingernails every second, which is true, by the way. Now, clearly Emma is doing something right because, judging by Twitter, the entirety of Northern Ireland is behind her. They went bonkers when she won the UK final. They went doolally again yesterday when she came through the semi-finals. And my favourite was somebody who tweeted, making sure they copied in the BBC and telling them to bring back their TV science show Tomorrow's World just so that Emma can host it. Stranger things have happened. A former FameLabber from the very first FameLab now presents The Sky at Night, which is one of the longest-running science programmes in the world. So, today, International FameLab. Tomorrow, Tomorrow's World. Who knows what the future holds for the UK FameLab champion, Emma Maguire.
The goal of life is the survival of our DNA. Without reproduction, humankind would be extinct. However, we humans are a picky species. We want the best possible offspring with the best possible mate. Therefore, we need a risk-free way of previewing our potential partners without giving them access to our precious genes. Nature's solution? Flirting. Let's set the scene. I'm on the dance floor, channeling Beyoncé, when our eyes lock across a crowded room. We've just initiated the age-old flirting technique, the copulatory gaze. This intimate eye contact ignites an animalistic part of the human brain, giving us two choices: approach or retreat. Obviously, you like what you see, and I watch as you move towards me. Are you attractive? Does it matter? Studies show that good flirting is more important than good looks. Yes. And don't worry too much about your chat-up line. Flirting is only 7% words. Our true feelings seep out through our body language. Women are subtle. A hair flick here, a coy laugh there, all to appear more feminine and youthful, signs of estrogen and fertility. Men, on the other hand, are as subtle as a brick. They engage in large testosterone-fueled movements, all to show they can protect and provide for any future family. Now, all the while we've been flirting, my brain has been subconsciously calculating our compatibility. Yep, leave your wingman at home. The brain is the ultimate matchmaker. And guess what? We're a match. The emotional headquarters of my brain, the limbic system, bursts into action. It gets turned on. Ding. It releases the hormones adrenaline and noradrenaline, causing a series of side effects like increased heart rate and dilated pupils. This hormonal hurricane can even cause tunnel vision. So when I say I only have eyes for you, I'm not being romantic. I'm being scientifically attractive. The fire you've started in my limbic system quickly ignites its next-door neighbour, my passionate pleasure centre, the nucleus accumbens. Bing! It pumps me full of the feel-good chemical, dopamine. It's the same chemical released by cocaine, giving me a natural high. No wonder we love to flirt. Flirting is the ultimate interview. If you're successful, you might just be the one that I reproduce with. We come from a long line of skilled flirters. Without them, the human race would be extinct. So go out there and flirt. Humanity depends on it. Thank you. Thank you.
I love this T-shirt. Okay, Emma, direct your copulatory gaze and flirty body language at our judges, please.
Thank you.
In this situation, is alcohol helpful or a hindrance in flirting?
For you or for Emma?
Well, when we're talking about both sides, of flirting in general, does it help or
Well, I
hinder?
certainly find that it helps.
No,
But
okay, yes.
because the way alcohol works, it's to lower our inhibitions, so your natural intentions come out more. So if you're naturally a shy person and you're flirting with someone and there isn't any alcohol there, you might be more into yourself, your body language might be more negative, and they might subconsciously pick up on that and think they're not that attracted to me, whereas it's just their nerves. But everyone gets a bit looser with a little bit of alcohol, so you might start to be a lot more out there, and you might really show them that you're very, very interested. So I would say alcohol helps. Not that I'm promoting it.
Gaze, you get so cross-eyed,
Exactly,
populatory
yeah.
gazes like that.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Can I ask, how do you react to flirting? Do you analyse the person?
That depends.
How does that work as a human?
Well, after reading up on it, I can certainly recognise when people are, not that it happens a lot, but I can now recognise when maybe people are flirting with each other. It seems a lot more obvious to me. And if people are doing things and they might not notice that they're being very obvious, with the men trying to look bigger and trying to look very, very strong and masculine, you can immediately tell. Or whenever a girl is being very giggly and, they're flirting, but I have not yet experienced it with myself, unfortunately. But.
What caused you to choose this particular topic? And what particular aspect of science are you really trying to illustrate by choosing this topic?
Well, choosing this topic, I chose flirting because I am really, really interested in science that's in the everyday that everyone can relate to, and everyone can relate to flirting. Either you do it quite a lot. There's something like people admit that they flirt 90% of the time in 1 week, so everyone does it. And I think human behaviours are very, very interesting to me. And the reason I did flirting in particular was because in my master's, which is anatomy, I'm doing a module in evolution. So any everyday behaviour that I can kind of tie to evolution and then let people know about it and let people know the reason we're doing flirting, it's not complete random. It has a very strong scientific basis. And I really like to bring science that's a wee bit more humorous. So even people, if they're not scientists, can enjoy it and they can think, maybe I should get into science because it's not dull and it is exciting and it is something that we all do. So that's the reason I chose it.
Is there any evidence of people, you can be colour-blind, can you be flirt-blind? Utterly unaware of when you're being flirted with.
Do you think loads of people are flirting with you and you're not noticing? Or?
No. Yes, but I wasn't thinking about it now. I was thinking more about my teenage years.
Teenage years. Yeah. So it can be like that. There's some people who just aren't as good as picking up things subconsciously, and a lot of the time people who don't pick up when people are flirting with them are people who are poor at flirting themselves. Not talking about you, but if someone isn't very good at flirting, it's because they don't know the ways to subconsciously do it. They might not know about the body language and the chemicals in their brain whenever they're firing. They might not be going off as much, so whenever someone's doing it to them, they just aren't able to recognise it. But it's just it's like people who are good at reading emotions. Some people are and some people aren't. It just depends on the person.
I'm not very good, but I am good at reading a clock, though. So we have to say, one more time, please, for Eamon Maguire.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Now, you might think Ema, being the FameLab UK champion, has a slight home advantage. But actually, Ema is from Strabane, which is right in the west of Northern Ireland, almost exactly 300 miles away. Whereas our FameLab Netherlands champion, Marcia Brandenburg-Goddard, was born in Amsterdam, which is slightly closer. So Marcia may be surprised she's the nearest thing we've got to a local in tonight's final. Now, if you're going to be rooting for Marcia, you might want to know she's a PhD student in clinical neuroscience at Leiden University and describes herself as a passionate Dutch Trinidadian brain junkie who also loves riding horses Western style and fancies herself quite the cowgirl. So saddle up, shout yourselves hoarse, and go wild, wild west for our Leiden leading lady, Netherlands FameLab champion and local favourite, Marcia Brandenburg-Goddard.
If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. If you're happy and you know it, then your face will surely show it. If you're happy and you know it, clap your hands. Awesome. This is just a silly kid song. And it's probably not very hard for you to determine if I should clap my hands or not. Should I clap my hands if I look like this? As easy as it may be for you to decide if I look happy or, well, pissed off, figuring out people's facial expressions can be a daunting task for people with autism. Neuroscientific research has shown that this problem might have something to do with the architecture of their brains. Think of it as a highway interchange. A typically developing brain is like a very efficient interchange. Information about facial expressions merges into neural traffic, and it takes the shortest route to the exit with the appropriate emotional label. Happy, sad, angry. The autistic brain, however, is tangled. It's a much more complicated interchange, full of roadblocks and dead ends. Information about facial expressions merges into neural traffic, but it gets lost. It goes left, it goes right, it turns around, it tries again. But it often ends up stranded without gas on the emergency lane, which can lead to these problems. Without treatment, that is. You see, people with autism are not crazy, and they're not dumb. They're just wired differently, and we might be able to use that knowledge to our advantage in treating these problems. Our research has shown, for example, that a subgroup of kids with autism use the frontal parts of their brains to label facial expressions, while other kids with autism do not. Even though they both have difficulties labeling facial expressions and they both have autism, these two groups take very different routes on the neural highway towards those issues. Now, if we can use this knowledge, then we might be able to create treatment that is tailored to these individual differences in the brain's road network. For example, we can use exciting new techniques in brain scanning to train them to use more of the brain regions you and I use when we label facial expressions to see if it improves their skills. But whatever the method, individualized treatment might make it possible for us to create custom-made neural navigation systems that will allow people with autism to confidently tell you that you look so happy right now, you should definitely clap your hands.
Always a clever trick to work applauding into your routine in case nobody wants to clap. But
It's a claptrap.
It's claptrap, yes. Well, I wasn't saying to talk claptrap.
Can you explain to us what stage this research is at? Is it being applied to real patients or not?
I was actually talking about my own research. So,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and the training that I was talking about, that is sort of an implication of my research. I've mapped the brain of different groups of kids with autism, and what I want to do next is use brain scanning to train them to influence their own brain activation to see if the symptoms get better.
And when would that, in practical terms, be able to be used on patients? What?
It's already possible, I just don't have the money.
Oh, I see, right, okay. Okay.
You were mentioning, sorry, I have to ask a question because I was a little bit, I misunderstood it. When you're talking about two subgroups having different pathways, doesn't that overly complicate everything? That you would want everything to go in one direction, maybe? How do you deal with the fact that you were inferring two different pathways? So how do you break that down, and how does that help you when you're starting to find the pathway that will help everyone? But is that, well, I'll let you.
Well, the thing is, there are different pathways to the same behavioral symptoms. Right. That is basically what I'm saying. These kids have the same behavioral symptoms, but the route to those symptoms is different in the brain. Okay. And if I want to influence brain activation, I need to know which brain areas to target, and that's why I did this research.
Okay, okay.
What made you want to communicate this to the general public?
Two reasons, actually. One, I think it's incredibly fascinating. The entire brain is incredibly fascinating. But the main thing is, I work with clinical groups. I work with kids with autism. And I want to help them. And in order to help them, they need to know what I'm doing. And I think the best example I can give you is that I did the preliminary heat in the Netherlands. And it was broadcast on TV, the national finals, actually. And I got an email from a kid who said, I have a boy with autism in my class at school. And I understand him better now, so thank you. So that, for me, is the best prize I can get. So that's why I'm doing it.
And And so where do you plan to give this talk next time?
Anybody? Whoever will have me. I will do it whenever and wherever I can.
Okay, thank you.
That's the way to be a science community. Clap happily, please, one more time for our almost homegrown Marcia Brandenburg Goddard. Now, so far, we've already had a Norwegian FameLabber, our CERN champion, Lillian Smiester, and now we have a Finn, which is particularly impressive given that there are, as yet, no FameLabs in Nordic countries. Now, our Finn is Oskari Vinko, who won FameLab Switzerland, a country with a long and proud tradition of producing FameLab champions who are anything but Swiss. Both the most northerly in origin and I believe just the tallest of this year's finalists. He rates the probability of being taller than them at only 0.2%. Oskari is a master's student in synthetic biology and biotechnology in Zurich. He says he loves seeing people's face light up when they get something that he's been explaining to them. And the best way he knows to practice his skills is by taking the science questions his 13-year-old younger brother has asked him and turning them into bedtime stories. So settle back, get yourselves tucked in, and enjoy a 3-minute tall tale from start to finish finalist Oskari Vinko.
Ebola, Ebola, Ebola. He's getting all the attention, but he's just a poser, pretending to be this terrifying and dangerous disease. But in reality, he's nothing compared to me. I kill 50 times more people every single year compared to what Ebola has done during its lifetime. I have 200 million people infected in the world right now, and that number is 3 times the population of UK. Oh, but where are my manners? I forgot to introduce myself. My name is Plasmodium falciparum, but you might know me better by the name Mr. Malaria. I ride in the night with my partner in crime, Miss Mosquito. But we have to be careful though, because some humans sleep inside nets treated with insecticide. If we get a hit, that's it. When Miss Mosquito bites the victim, I smell the blood, and I dive in. Towards the liver cells I swim, and then I penetrate them, and I replicate, until there are 10,000 of us ready to detonate. We burst the cell open, and then we go to hunt red blood cells to get some sweet, sweet hemoglobin and make our army even larger. To get inside a red blood cell, we need these surface proteins. They are like a key to get down inside. However, the immune system can detect these things, and then we would be in trouble, and that's why we hide them. And we only reveal them when we need to enter a red blood cell. And this way, the stupid immune system has no idea we are around, and we can do whatever we want. When Miss Mosquito comes for a next blood meal, we get a free ride to the next victim. We have been on this planet for 30 million years, and now humans think they can get rid of us. In 1950s, the World Health Organization declared malaria eradication efforts, and they wiped us out from US and Europe. But luckily, they forgot to include the list of African countries on the campaign, and that was fine by me. In 1970s, the Chinese scientists discovered a long-forgotten 2,000-year-old malaria therapy involving a drug called artemisinin, and this was real poison to us. 15 years ago, the medical companies combined artemisinin with other anti-malaria drugs to make it almost invincible, but the poor, they couldn't afford those pills. They used artemisinin alone and didn't even always finish all the pills. That's how we learned how to deal with artemisinin, and now my brothers in Southern Asia are artemisinin resistant. If humans continue to be so selfish and I'm unable to make a real global effort, I'm going to use this weakness, get my revenge, and return to rule the Western world. Thank you.
Right, Oskari Vinko, in character, our first FameLab villain, Mr. Malaria, now meets someone almost as evil as you.
How can we eradicate you then?
That's a good question. I think you have the knowledge and you have the technology, but the people who have things good right now in Europe, they should help those people who are now suffering and make proper treatments, because they do not have the resources in Africa, for example. And that's why I get more stronger, because I can become resistant to the inventions of the rich people because they are not used properly. Okay. So just helping others, that's one key.
You're obviously very passionate about malaria. By speaking to the world or whatever who are watching FameLab, what are you hoping to achieve in practical terms? I mean, are you looking for more funding? Are you looking for a research focus? Is there a practical object to your presentation?
So I study synthetic biology, and one great example is how the drug artemisinin was made in bacteria to make it available to many people. But in my talk, I really want to point out that things like Ebola get a massive attention in media. However, it's not the biggest threat. I try to keep my voice to point out to people that there are bigger things that you haven't maybe heard of, or you have heard of it, but you have just forgotten because there are more interesting small things that are getting all your attention.
Okay, thank you.
It's always good to tell somebody from a newspaper group how to write journalism. That's good.
So there's no doubt that malaria is a huge problem internationally. What are your predictions in terms of the long-term future for the solution of this? The time frame?
Ooh, that's a very hard question. From Mr. Malaria's point of view, I hope to return in 10 years in Europe and US. But from humans' point of view, there has to be some really tough fight to make. It depends. I think it really requires attention of much wider population than now. So the science communicators, it depends on them, and also other FameLabers. So how could we get the attention of everybody and make a global, real effort and be strong, not weak?
Thank you. Just picking up on Matt's question at the start, are you sure you've thought this through? He talked about how to eliminate you. Are you sure the judges, as soon as they get backstage, say, well, we'll get rid of that Mr. Malaria to start with? Yeah, I thought so. One more time, making us more malaria-aware, Oscar Ivenko. Right, now we're halfway through already, and finalist number 5 is our Croatian champion, Teja Rukavina. Now, Teja is a material girl, but not the usual kind. She loves concrete and steel, and she loves to put them to good use as a civil engineer. But Teja says it's not enough for her to just build things. She wants to understand the nature of all that's around us, and wonders whether every substance and structure can ultimately be reduced to a mathematical formula. Wow. This may explain why Teja also writes poetry. If you're trying to understand the structure of our universe, it helps to have something in your universe you can give structure to. She's had 2 books of her poems published, Ornament and Plagiarism. So, a big Croatian ovation as we prepare for something poetic and concrete, but not ornamental or plagiarized, from Teja Rukavina.
Hi, would you like to become bridge drivers? Although you may not know what does it mean, I'm sure you would like to be that because it sounds so cool. And now you have to come with me on a journey to go and see what can we do and how can we find the real reason and the real importance of the human step. And that's why we are going back in time, and we are coming to London and to see what happened there exactly 15 years ago. So we're standing there at the opening of the Millennium Bridge, and we are just walking around, and we are coming from Tate Modern to the St. Paul's Cathedral, with almost 2,000 people around us, and we are just enjoying the view. But all of a sudden, the bridge starts to move, and it is like a snake. So, what can we think about that? Now, we should explain that with it all happened because of our steps. So that's why, whew, sorry. So the reason why this bridge was wobbling was because of our steps. And when we take a step, we produce a vertical force that is perpendicular to the surface. And we also produce a horizontal one that is 10 times smaller, but it makes it, sorry, I can't do this. Yeah.
Oh. You sure you want to stop?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, a bit of a wobble, but I blame the bridge. You can still take a couple of minutes of questions from our judges. There's lots you can gain and marks there as well.
I'll start. Right. So you're a civil engineer.
Yeah.
And the phenomenon you're describing is a fascinating phenomenon. How could those people walking across the bridge have avoided it?
Yeah, it is about that they were walking, and as we walk, we produce these forces. And there is an interesting thing that all the people, when they are walking in a crowd, they tend to go in step with each other, and so they also tend to get in step and synchronized with the bridge. And that is how you can do it. But to avoid the wobbling, they put some dampers on just to dissipate the energy of the movement.
And could you have predicted that that would have been a problem before the bridge was opened?
No, because actually the engineers who built it, they calculated the forces that would act on the surface by all the people, but they thought that they were going just randomly, so that they couldn't predict it.
So you've probably given the rest of your talk just now.
Yeah.
In a relaxed way, which is
Exactly.
One more question?
Yeah, so it's basically about resonance.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that was. I was going to ask you about what it was, so I think I've given my own answer. So yeah,
Yeah, it was
It's actually to them, not to yourself.
Yeah, it was resonance because the frequency of the step of the people were the same as the natural frequency of the structure.
Can we just have one more question?
Can I just ask why the engineers were not able to predict this? If it's kind of obvious what might happen, why could they not predict it?
Because that was a phenomenon that was newly observed on bridges. It was not observed before. Okay, resonance, you can predict it. Right. But you can predict like vertical resonance, where you are like walking like this. That's why, for example, when troops are marching on a bridge, they have to break step when you go. But here, this happened that it was a horizontal resonance due to this phenomenon that people in crowds tend to do this locking movement that lock with the movements of the bridge.
Okay. So you got everything in the questions in the end, and you resonated with the audience. One more time, please, for Thea Bukovina. Thea won't thank me for saying this, but I'm almost glad that happened, because sometimes these FameLabs, they make it look so easy. It is not easy at all, doing this for 3 minutes and memorising it and doing it in a foreign language. I have a clipboard and I speak English. Now, some of our FameLabbers are alarmingly multi-talented. I didn't even mention that Thea has also played volleyball at international level. But I'm delighted to say that our French champion, François-Xavier Joly, lists his interests as things that mere mortals can identify with. He likes DIY and gardening, and he brews his own beer. Although being French, it's probably lager. François-Xavier is down to earth, not only in his hobbies, but also his work. He's a PhD student in ecosystem ecology at the French National Centre for Scientific Research in Montpellier. He looks at the soil and the wider environment and how it's being affected by the changes to the number of species. Now, I'm thinking of getting him to investigate FameLab ecosystem and how it's changed by having ever more international participants. For now, though, it's all about short-term survival of one species. The 2015 winner, and, it's just a little bit after 2015, for FameLab France, François-Xavier Joly.
Ladies and gentlemen, this is the story of a corrupted society. It's the end of September, and in forest, all those leaves that have been hard working all spring and summer to capture light, to fix carbon dioxide, and to produce oxygen are finally retiring. The wind gently blows them away, and they end up on the soil, but with one last and very important mission to accomplish: getting decomposed. If these leaves fail this mission, the nutrients that they contain won't be able to go back to the soil and be used again by plants. And the carbon that they're made of won't be able to go back to the atmosphere and be used again for photosynthesis. But relax. Fortunately, they get help from many organisms called decomposers, mostly composed of these tiny but numerous bacteria and fungi who, by throwing around their powerful enzymes around them like knives, cut the long and complex molecules of the leaves into smaller ones, ingest them, and then release the nutrients to the soil and the carbon to the atmosphere. Mission accomplished. But just like in the headquarters of FIFA, corruption is everywhere. Some of the leaves of good species are rich in nutrients, rich in tasty compounds, thanks to which they can bribe the decomposers and get decomposed in just a few months. While, in contrast, leaves of poor species, thick and dry, with almost nothing to offer to the decomposers, have to wait long years to get fully decomposed. But, fortunately, some other soil organisms, like millipedes, decided to take action against this terrible inequality. They are known as transformers. Yeah, they do sound like superheroes, and they actually have a superpower. This millipede have the power to transform different leaves, rich leaves like poor leaves, into an identical structure. A structure that is the same for all leaves. A structure that gives a fresh start to all leaves in the race for decomposition. This amazing structure is millipedes' poo. Well, yeah, when leaves are chewed by the millipede, slightly digested, and then returned to the soil as poo, inequalities disappear. Rich leaves see their attractiveness slightly reduced, when the one of poor leaves increases a lot, making them, in the end, equal. This is the first reason what I want everyone to know about millipedes. And the second reason is that millipedes can have a strong impact on the environment, and climate change can impact them. Often when we think about climate change, we think about the poor polar bear drifting on a piece of ice. But he's not the only one that is at risk. All the millipedes that are living in our forest are also at risk. So for the millipedes and their poo, we should do something about climate change.
Okay, I think they're laughing with you, not laughing at you. Millipedes at hyperspeed, Francois-Xavier Joly. You got millipedes at hyperspeed and some bonus poo too as well there. Now next we have our scaredy cat with a scaredy dog. Louisa Sophocleus describes her pet pooch as paranoid, but she also describes herself as being long suffering from stage fright and anxiety about even talking about her work. So while working on her PhD in biomedical engineering at the University of Cyprus, Louisa decided to do something about her glossophobia. That's the technical term for fear of talking in public. And so she entered FameLab, and she won. Then she came to Cheltenham for last night's semi-final, and she won through that too. Which brings us to her and to tonight. She's here from Nicosia, so a big cheer for the almost without fear, Louisa Sophocleus.
Do you think I can move this car by only using my mind? Let's see. Oh, come on, of course I cannot. But what used to be fiction can now turn to reality. With a technology called brain-computer interface, our thoughts can be read and translated to actions. Sounds crazy? It is, and it's not. In any case, it's possible. This technology can help millions of people with severe motor disabilities to control a wheelchair, move a computer cursor, control a robotic limb, only by using the power of their brain, literally. The reason why a brain-computer interface works at all is because of the way our brain functions. Our heads are filled with millions of individual nerve cells called neurons, working together as part of an electrical circuit. Every time we move, think, see, or feel something, our neurons are working. This means that they communicate with one another by generating small electrochemical signals, small voltages that travel from neuron to neuron. Those voltages, although very small and faint, can be measured, and we measured them with the use of sensors called electrodes attached to the scalp. Of course, with a hair like mine, this would be kind of difficult, but let's ignore this. To better understand how this technology is working, think of this. Every time I want to move this car with a joystick, it has to be open. Every time I want to move this car with the joystick, certain neurons in my motor cortex, the part of my brain responsible for the motion, are activated and immediately send a message to my hand, "Hey fingers, move the joystick," not with this voice. The next time I would think to move then, if I was wired with electrodes, this brain activity generated in my brain could be saved on a computer, localized, and used again later. So the next time I would think of moving the car, this electrical activity generated in my brain by thinking of moving the car could still be detected by the electrodes. And then the computer system, or the brain-computer interface as we call it, could recognize my intention, translate it, and send a signal to the car to move directly from my brain without the joystick. And this could work even if my hands were unable to move, or even if my whole body was unable to move. So, remember that an active brain is always so powerful and can achieve so much, even if it is trapped in an inactive body. Thank you.
Well, you might one day manage to move the car, but will you move our judges?
How far are we from practical application of this, of having disabled people with these electrodes doing things?
Yes, but we are on clinical trials. There is nothing commercially available yet, but there's a huge research behind this technology in clinical trials, and it's very promising.
Is there a way of doing it in the opposite sense, so the computer...
Yes.
Okay.
We can restore hearing for the deaf, seeing for the blind. We can create bionic eyes, bionic ears. This is the opposite use of this technology, and it's still amazing.
Have you seen the film Terminator?
No. No. What relation has with this?
It's about machines taking over the world.
Okay. So, okay, this is a common fear,
yeah.
But I think we are not yet there.
Although that is, of course, what they thought in Terminator as well. Yeah.
I'm tempted to ask, what are you doing with your car later?
I have to give it to a kid.
How did you choose this topic? Is this your main research?
No, it's not my main research, but it's a fascinating field. I mean, it's the future, and it's almost here. And people usually get misinformed about this technology. People think that they can read their mind, but it's not actually reading their minds. It's reading the commands. It's not reading what you think or what you want to do or what you want to eat later. It's reading the commands.
So you're actually talking about an area that's not your main area of research.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
But do you do?
I do biomedical signal processing.
Oh, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Which is not far.
Close to.
That's a talk for another time. Some great stage audience judge interfacing from Louisa Sophocles. Don't forget. Possible clue as to how Louisa conquers stage fright, by the way, is that she says the key to science communication is lots of wine. I'm sure it's a hypothesis she'll be testing rigorously should she win, or even if she loses, and I am prepared to help you, Louisa, in that research. And no, Ema, that's not flirting. Now, penultimately, we come to our furthest flung finalist, the 2015 FameLab Australia winner, Sandeep Kamath, an Australian Institute of Tropical Health and Medicine Research Fellow at the James Cook University in Queensland. Sandeep works on combating something that now affects 1 in 50 Australians, shellfish allergies. Now, after talking about his research won him a suspiciously similar-sounding 3-minute thesis competition down under, Sandeep, accompanied by Mr. Pinchy, a toy rock lobster, went on to become the FameLab Australia champions. And then, once again, helped by Mr. Pinchy, he triumphed in last night's semi-finals. So it's great that Sandeep has helped celebrate FameLab's first decade with a decapod. There are 15,000 species of them, including the rock lobster. But will Mr. Pinchy also put in an appearance tonight? I don't know, but I can tell you who does. Slip another shrimp on the barbie for Sandeep Kamath. Thank you.
Oh my God, it's Mr. Pinchy. That was a very unexpected reaction, wasn't it, friends? Coming from a cop just looking at a tasty lobster. Well, that is exactly how the immune system works when it comes in contact with a harmless lobster in a person who has allergies to shellfish. And you can just imagine when there's so much violence going on inside the body, it shows up outside. When your skin turns red, the face swells, the tongue swells, you have difficulty in breathing, and the only way to survive this is to jab an adrenaline injector, ow, in your thigh. Only way to save yourself. And you know what the saddest part is? Food allergies are so common that I bet that right now there are 10 people in this very audience who have shellfish allergies. And every one of you knows someone in your life who are living under a constant fear of facing such an attack. And you know what? There is no pill out there which you can just pop in and your allergies are cured. So who are you going to call? Well, that is where research and science come into action. My work follows a very simple principle so that I can train the immune system to behave like a good boy, or rather, a good cop. And the best part is, I have learned this from the parents in the audience. I call it the feed the kid conundrum. Imagine if you have a big bowl of spinach and you have a big spoon and you take a big scoop out of it and just feed your kid. They won't like it. In fact, they will just behave just the way I did. So, what do? Well, you throw out the big thing, you take a smaller spoon, switch on the television, distract their attention, and just go a little bit at a time. And over a long period of time, they will finish this bowl of spinach. And, God forbid, they will actually one day start liking the spinach. Well, this is exactly what my research is about. Not about spinach, it's about Pinky the rock lobster. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to understand Mr. Pinchy, see how nature has made it, and the small proteins in him which actually causes the allergy, and how I can make it less nasty and more tasty so that the immune system can just have a lick at it and then realize that it is not actually dangerous. My aim being, I can change this into this, a small pill which people can just eat it, and what that means is the next time the immune system comes in and has a look at Mr. Pinchy, it'll say, all right, Mr. Pinchy, I think you're harmless. I'll let you go. Thank you.
Now, where else in the world can you see a man bring on a lobster, dress as a cop, stamp on a balloon, and call it entertainment? Judges.
Does this research have an applicability beyond shellfish in dealing with the whole immune system and other allergies?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, I just used shellfish as an example, but this whole approach so that the patient can be desensitized is applicable for not just food allergies, but also for inhalant allergies, for pollen and dust mite allergies as well. Yes.
Okay. It was along the lines of what I was going to eat. Sorry, which is what I was going to ask you. Sorry, not eat. Sorry, I like lobster, so I'm quite hungry now. Yeah, my comment was going to be, should we just stop eating shellfish? But I guess the application is already there, that you can transmit it to other things. Have you got children, by the way?
No, not yet.
No. How do you know about how to feed kids? That's really interesting. I'm sorry. Well, I'll pass it to you because it's already my question. He's answered it. It's fine. Sorry.
Was there a question in that?
No. My question was already answered. So.
Do I have kids or Mr. Pinchy have kids?
No. I think Matt might have a Sandeep allergy. He's treatable.
So, what you're describing is a piece of research which shows that you can desensitize by low-grade challenge. This must take some time. How do you think you could accelerate that particular therapeutic intervention, as it were?
Sometimes it is quite actually risky to accelerate it because, as you know, everyone is different and everyone who has allergies react differently to the same amount of the allergen or the food. So in some people, if it works really well within, say, a year, in other people, the same amount can actually trigger a reaction. So it's very important to understand the proteins that are inside Mr. Pinchy and understand the structure so that we can modify it so that it can be made less reactive, in a sense. So that over a certain period of time, they can really get desensitized and they not react as strongly as they would do naturally. But as the question you said, to accelerate the process would be a bit risky.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. If you want, you've got time for one more. And if you don't, then I'll say more applause with your claws for the punchy, pinchy, Sandy Kamath. I was very glad to see the return of Mr. Pinchy there. And by the way, Sandeep Kamath, anagram of am paid. Thanks, you might want to know. Right, now nearly there. There will soon be only one winner, but now there is only one FameLab finalist we've not heard from, and it's our 2015 Germany champion, Dong-Sun Chang. A PhD student in social neuroscience at the Max Planck Institute for Biological Cybernetics in Tübingen, Dong-Sun is fascinated, like probably quite a lot of us, with how different people interact. But he's interested in how this behaviour is represented in our brains. Dong says that interest all stems from him having a particularly cross-cultural background, having grown up partly in Korea, a little bit of time in America, and partly in Germany. And that, in turn, is him due to being the son of a dad from North Korea and a mum from South Korea who got together in Germany. That makes him what's known, at least according to Dong-Sun, as a child of love and peace. So open your mind, expose your brains, and get ready for peace, love, and, with luck, understanding from our FameLab Germany winner, Dong-Sun Chang.
I want to start with a question. What makes us humans special compared to animals or any other living beings on this planet? You might not believe, looking at some people, but opening up the skulls of people, in every single human, you found a brain. And what is special about the human brain is, actually, we don't have the biggest brain. Elephants or whales have bigger brains. But we humans have the biggest neocortex. It is the part of the brain which enables you to think. But if you look at fossil records, and anthropologists say, when did our neocortex grow so big? Then it was not when humans conquered the nature. It was not when we started to use the tools. It was actually when humans started living together with other humans, when the best friend and the best enemy of humans were other humans. So thinking about other humans made us intelligent, and maybe that's why we spend so much time on Facebook. But this is not my point. I want to tell you about my most favorite experiment, which is how other people see the world changes how I see the world. So look at this picture. It's a spectrum between green and blue. So let's say most people see here blue. You take this color and ask 50 people, do you see blue or green? You say green. Do you see blue or green? You say green. And I asked 50 other people. No, 49 people, and they all say green. Now I ask the 50th person, do you see green or blue? I think probably the person will also say, I see green. But this is not interesting, because we know people will answer like that. The real question is, does the person really see green? Or does he only say so because others say? There's a method to find out, which is called adaptation. If you watch a color like red for a very long time, and you watch something like white, you will see green, because it's the opposite color. So people didn't know it. You asked, did you see green or blue? They had to tell the adaptation after effect. And what do you guess? Did they really see green? Or did they just say so? The answer is, they really saw green. That means when other people say what color you see, it changes the perception of the physical world. For a brain scientist's point of view, this is not so amazing, because it happens in many different cases, depending on the context. For example, if you are in the moon and look at the Earth, you see the Earth differently than when you're on Earth. If you take sugar pills, but you believe they're real pills, then you will have a real effect. That's called the placebo effect. So this happens because the brain works with something, expectations and prior, and other people can change how we see the world. I want to ask you, when was the last time you were really happy? And I'm sure you were not alone. You were with someone you really liked or really loved. And the reason is, being together with other people, having social interaction, that makes us happy. This is what food is for rats, is for humans, being together with others. And that's what makes us humans special. Thank you very much.
Right, he's happy now, but how blue will he be after he's faced our judges?
Was it me, wasn't it? Yes. I think, yeah. Oh, it is. So it's interesting, you were discussing an internet phenomenon about dresses in some sense. And with that, so does that mean the internet is bad for making us happy if we should have actual social interactions, so one-to-one or in a room, actually physically? So is the internet phenomena that you refer to, social media, bad for happiness?
There was actually a really interesting experiment of a computer scientist. He thought people do Mafia Wars, Farmville, all kind of games, and they thought it's really stupid, right? So he made a game called Clicking Cow. All you can do is, you can click a cow. If you invite friends, you can click twice. You can invite more friends, you can click. But amazingly, people actually found it funny, and this game got very popular. And actually, psychologists said the reason is you get social feedback, because you can click one and you invite another friend. The friend clicks too. It gives you feedback. There is another person playing with me, which again stimulated our reward centers, giving us kind of a pleasant feeling of being together, may it be an illusion or not. It is in your mind.
And this seems a fairly well understood area in science. What mysteries remain? What research has been done on this area?
Pardon?
Well, this seems quite well developed science. You understand what happens, etc. But what mysteries are in this area of perception? What research has been done?
So the biggest mystery is actually how humans have such a clear gut feeling of what others think about yourself or how you're going to interact. Imagine you train a robot to behave like a human and have interaction. You should know how humans behave and how we interact. But the biggest mystery is we still don't know. That's why we cannot program a robot to behave like a human yet, because we still need to understand how humans behave in our interaction.
Okay, thank you.
The mystery of empathy. I empathise. One more question?
I'm tempted to ask a question about polling and the outcome of the general election, but I won't under these circumstances.
I'm afraid the results are out on that one, Julie missed it.
It does suggest that really crowd behaviour is an important phenomenon in evolutionary terms.
It is. The social intelligence hypothesis would say, actually, the intelligence of us evolved because we started thinking about other people, whether someone is a cooperator or a competitor. So the social brain is actually part of our evolution.
And what do you think that says about optimal group sizes in terms of social behaviour amongst humans?
So there's actually a funny study which says if you look at the early humans...
Just briefly, if you would.
Sorry. Yeah. So evolutionary, you cannot have as many friends as you have on Facebook now. But technology enabled you to do that. But really following up and having real friendship is not possible with that many number of people. That's what current state of research says.
And that number's about 150, isn't it, your online friend? I think they've done, there is a calculation as to the number of friendships you can actually have. I believe it's 150.
It's called the Dunbar number.
It is,
true, yes.
after Robin Dunbar, it is. Okay, thank you also for giving us our stat of the night. Thank you, Donson, for also giving me at least my stat of the night. Inside every human there is a brain. It's sometimes easy to forget that. So that was Dongsun Shang, and that was also our final finalist. I thought he was brilliant, easily in my top 10 of the evening. But it's not my ranking that counts. It's our judge. It falls to them and them alone to decide on one winner and two joint runners-up. They now have 15 minutes to confer. It may not seem much time, but we could have seen half the finalists in that time. So Jill, Tom, Matt, be gone, be wise, and be back in 15 minutes. Clap them and chill them on the way. It's your last chance to shout names of your favourites as they go. You never know, you might influence their verdict. Now, while they're away, we get to make our minds up and have some fun. Now, the fun bit of it, or most of it, will be provided by Katie Steckles, who is so much more than an anagram of likes cake test. Now, we'll get on to what after we get past who, specifically who is going to be our audience vote winner and get the champagne and the special FameLab plaque. Now, you should all have been given electronic keypads on your way in. Who hasn't got one? Yeah, there's a couple of hands going up there. So while we're getting keypads to you guys, and also just to give us a breather, we're going to get a quick video of all the finalists to remind you who was who. Now, when we did this in 2013, somehow they got the wrong video and showed a completely different bunch of FameLabbers from the previous year. And half the people in the audience were thinking, oh, what's gone wrong with my memory? I don't recognise any of these people at all. So if any of the following look unfamiliar, please shout out. Otherwise, run VT.
My name is Lilian Smestad. I'm from Norway representing CERN. I'm really grateful that I could come here tonight and talk to you about what happens if you fall into a black hole, which is pretty mind-blowing.
My name is Emer Maguire and I'm representing the UK. Tonight I talked about the science of flirting, so anyone who listened to my talk probably got some scientifically sound flirting advice. I don't see why science shouldn't be sexy.
My name is Marcia Brandenburg-Goddard. I represent the Netherlands. My talk was about the neuroscience behind autism and about how we can create custom-made neural navigation systems that will help us treat people with autism.
My name is Oskar Vinko, and I'm a Finn representing Switzerland. I'm going to adopt a character of Mr. Malaria. I'm going to tell how I infect people and how I fight against the modern medicine and about my plans to conquer the Western world.
Hello, I'm Tea Rukavina. I'm representing Croatia in this FameLab International Final. My talk was about resonance and bridges, and why did the wobbling at the Millennium Bridge happen.
My name is François-Xavier Joly. I'm a PhD student in ecology. My talk was about the bizarre, unexpected, but very important role of millipedes on the very important process of litter decomposition.
Hi, I'm Luisa. I'm from Cyprus, and I found for FameLab in my university. Tonight I will talk about about science fiction becoming reality, how our thoughts can be read and translated to actions.
Hi, I'm Dr. Sandeep Kamath, and I'm representing Australia in the FameLab finals. My talk is about food allergies, particularly to shellfish and how serious they can get, and what we are trying to do inside a lab so that we can improve the blood tests and create possible treatments in the future.
My name is Dongsun. I'm representing FameLab Germany. My talk was about social brain, meaning that how I see the world changes how others see the world, and how others perceive the world also changes the way I perceive the world. And this relates to human happiness, because you're most happy when you're together with others. And I wanted to convey this message, how our brains are made to be social, being together with others.
Remember, cut the slide for a minute, please, if you would. Thank you. Thank you. Yeah, I remember it as if it was yesterday. That was a great video, and can we thank the video team for turning that round so fast as well? I did offer to let them include video of me, but they said it was just going to drag it all down. Now, as soon as the results of yesterday's final came through, we did something. I don't know if the FameLabers themselves know this, but we actually got a series of Cheltenham Science Festival focus groups, one for each of the FameLabers, and asked them a series of questions. So we wanted to know things like, what chemical element we thought that they typified, or what colour they personified, or what type of breakfast cereal they exemplified. And we asked them a bunch of questions. Now, this is all mostly for the marketing people at the Cheltenham Science Festival. But in there as well, we also got the group to ask, say, what single-digit number we thought somehow each of these individual FameLabers summed up and represented. Now, initially, of course, we ran into some conflicts. 4 different groups all thought their particular FameLaber equaled the number 6. But we went through it and we changed it a bit, and eventually we managed to come up with 9 different single-digit numbers, one for each of the FameLabers. And somebody thought, wouldn't it be a nice idea if when it came to the voting, we put them up with each of these single-digit numbers for you to vote with. So if we can get the slide up now. Not that one. The one we had before, that's great. So first of all, you can think whether you think each of them actually is represented by that particular number. But otherwise, more importantly, use that number when you come to vote. So this is the important thing. Vote for the FameLaber using the number from the focus group who you think gave the most impressive presentation and did the best at dealing with the judges' questions. Voting is anonymous, so there is absolutely no reason to vote for your friend or your fellow countryman or exhibit any kind of loyalty to somebody who is one of the FameLabers. Vote for whoever you thought did the best job on the night. It's very simple. It's the button you push. I think we're going to give you 20 seconds or so. It's the last button push that counts. And if we're ready, we're going to put the lights up a bit so you can actually see your keypads properly. Can everybody see them reasonably well? Good. Do you want a bit more? Or are you happy? It's hard to tell, really, when you're talking to an audience. You could say lots of different things. If you'd like more light, let me know. No? In which case, if you're happy with this level of darkness, it suits me better, then your time starts now. So just push the button for the FameLaber you thought did the best job. And if somebody gives me a yell when the 20 seconds are up, because I can never tell how long 20 seconds is, just yell or wave. Thank you very much. Well done. Thank you, everybody, for voting. Please do remember to give your keypads in when you leave. They are of no use whatsoever in the real world. Through the power of technology, we almost instantly know the result of that vote, but we're going to keep you in suspense for a bit, because that's how suspense works. And if anybody was still impressed by the time and trouble we went to with the focus groups to exemplify each finalist, please do come and find me after the final, and I'll explain how for a tiny investment you can make a fortune in Martian gold mine shares. Now, the judges still need a few more minutes to reach a legally binding verdict, so while we wait, we have that bonus bit of fun I promised in the shape of Katie Steckles. Now, Katie is a mathematician, an anagram of seasick kettle, who finds an almost 1 divided by 0 numbers of way to give maths mass appeal. School talks, designing puzzles, doing demos. She was last year's over-ambitious demo winner here at Cheltenham, as well as being a judge at the international semi-finals yesterday. Thank you for that, Katie. Katie's also been doing a show on mathematical origami, which she has a black belt in, and the picture of her in tonight's programme appears to show her grooming a tribble. And that is just a fractal fraction of what may or may not feature in the next finite number of primetime minutes with Katie Steckles.
Thanks very much. Hello, everyone. So my name's Katie, and I'm a mathematician, and I would like to talk to you about two things that I'm really passionate about, which are maths and people being wrong on the internet. This is something that I've extensively looked into, and I acknowledge that maths is not necessarily the easiest subject. It is something where you do sometimes, find that you're wrong, and it's very important to be wrong sometimes. But the problem I have is when people are wrong and they think they're right. And if I did try and collate all of the examples of this on the internet, we would be here for a very long time. So I've chosen a topic on which to focus this. And the topic that I'm going to talk about, specifically people being wrong about, is pi. This is a fantastic number. It's a number which mathematicians get very excited about for various reasons. Pi, if you write it as a decimal, is 3.14159365358979323846264338, and so on. And the decimal expansion of pi goes on forever. It never repeats itself. So it's not a number like a half, where the decimal expansion is 0.5, just stops. It's not a number like a third, where the decimal expansion is 0.33333, going forever and repeating the same digit. It's not even a number like 1/7, where the decimal expansion is 0.142857, 142,857, 142,857, going on forever. I've memorized quite a lot of that. That's less impressive. So this is a number which never repeats itself, and it's very, very cool. And the thing about pi is that people tend to get a bit carried away. It's a great number, it has lots of interesting properties, it crops up in lots of cool places in maths, but it is possible to be too enthusiastic, and you end up with things like this. Like this. So this is a picture which I found on the internet. It was being tweeted around by various different people. Earlier this year, actually, we had March the 14th. If you're in America, you write 314, so this is Pi Day. And around Pi Day, this was everywhere, this was all over the internet. It says pi is an infinite non-repeating decimal, meaning that every possible number combination exists somewhere in pi. Converted into ASCII text, somewhere in that infinite string of digits is the name of every person you will ever love, the date, time, and manner of your death, and the answers to all the great questions of the universe. And it goes on. And this is really powerful stuff, okay? People see this and they think, this is amazing. This is such a fantastic fact. So, you've got this infinite string of digits that goes on and it never repeats itself. If you have some way of converting those digits into letters, my personal favorite is A goes to 1, B goes to 2, but you may have your own favorite. But if you have some way of doing this, you can find words in there, you'll find your name, you'll find all of this information about yourself. You'll in fact find the name of the winner of this evening's FameLab competition. You will find a full transcript of their 3-minute FameLab set. You will also find the full text of their autobiography, which they haven't even written yet, but in 40 years' time, they will write about their fantastic life as an international science communication superstar. But the problem is, you'll also find the name of everyone who didn't win FameLab tonight. You'll find all of their 3-minute sets as well. and you'll find all of their autobiographies. You'll also find the autobiography of that guy who didn't even enter FameLab this evening, but in an alternate universe where he entered and won FameLab International Final 2015, his autobiography about his glittering career. And in fact, you would actually find everything in there. You would find every single possible string of digits, collection of information, bunch of words, every possible thing is in there. And there's a sense in which containing everything is the same as containing nothing. Because if you wanted to find, so for instance, next week's lottery numbers are in the digits of pi somewhere, but if you wanted to find them, if you had a search box and you could type it in, you would need to know what they were in order to find them. So it's not really that good. And in fact, there are other problems with this as well. So if you have a number that has this property, that it contains every possible string, a mathematician has a word for this, and we would call this a normal number. Okay, this is like a mathematical definition. You might be thinking, what does a mathematician know about what's normal? And I'm not presuming to tell you, but this is like a strict mathematical term. And it has a very specific definition, but what it essentially boils down to is that a number is normal if it contains every digit the same number of times. So if you've got an infinite decimal expansion, it contains as many ones as it has twos, as threes, as fours, as fives, and so on, up to zeros. They're all in there the same number of times. And it turns out this is equivalent to having every possible combination in there. Which is interesting because not all infinite decimal expansions do this. Not all infinite decimal expansions that never repeat do this. Because you could have something that goes on forever and never repeats, but never contains any fours. And in fact, it would still be an infinite decimal expansion that never repeats, but it wouldn't contain a whole bunch of things. For instance, it would not contain 4. 4 would not be in there anywhere. In fact, 44 would not be in there. 404 would literally be not found. Because this thank you. I'm pretty pleased with that one. So it's not actually the same property. And in fact, it's kind of embarrassing because a normal number, so mathematicians have proved that normal numbers exist. They understand what a normal number is. And in fact, there are infinitely many normal numbers. And it's even worse than that because there is a mathematical term which is almost every, and it is a lot stronger than when normal people say almost every. When mathematicians say almost every, they really mean almost every number is normal. Okay? All of them except for very, very few numbers. And that might sound strange because every number you've ever met in your life is not a normal number, right? Any number that's a whole number or a fraction or anything that repeats or has any kind of, anything that you can write down is not a normal number. It has to go on forever, it has to have no pattern to it, and it has to contain all the digits the same number of times. There are so many of them. And if you ask a mathematician to tell you an example of a normal number, they can't do that. There isn't one. There is no known example of a normal number. We don't know how to prove that a number is normal, and we can't construct one, which is, I say again, a bit embarrassing, because this is quite a cool concept, and it would be nice if there was one. And in particular, what this means is that pi, we don't know whether or not it is normal. We think it is. It's on a sort of slightly increasingly long list of things that we suspect are probably normal numbers, but because we can't prove it, we don't know. So the human race knows 10 trillion and 50 digits of pi. That's why some guy with a computer calculated 10 trillion digits. He was like, I'm going to do the 50. So we've got 10 trillion and 50 digits. And within that, it kind of behaves like a normal number, but obviously we can't calculate them all. And we don't know if there is a point in pi after which there are no sevens. That could be a thing. Who knows? I don't know why the universe would do that to us, but it might be the case, and it might not be normal. So not only is this a fact which might not even be true of pi, it's also true of almost every other number, but not necessarily pi. So as a fact about pi, this is increasingly less impressive. And I don't want to be mean to people who send this kind of thing around on the internet, because I love it when people get excited about maths and talk about maths and tell each other cool things about maths. But, not this. Find something that's both interesting and true. So if you want an example of something that is interesting about pi that is true, here is one. Okay? So you take the digits of pi, 3.14, and so on. And you look for prime numbers. Now, prime numbers are another thing the mathematicians get really excited about, especially me. The prime numbers are numbers which are not divisible by anything other than themselves and 1. So, for example, 5 is a prime number because you can't divide it by anything. 4 is not a prime number because you can divide it by 2. Okay, so if you look for prime numbers in here, you could start at the beginning. So 3, that's a prime number, so I will colour that in. After that, 1 is not a prime number, no matter how much you want it to be, it's not. 14 is the next two, they've put 2 digits together, so 14, still not a prime number. 141 is not a prime number. In fact, the first prime number that you get there is 14159, that is prime. 2, that's a prime number, so I will section that off into its own little bit. The next one there is 653. 5 is a prime number. 89, the sneaky prime, doesn't look prime, but it is. 7 is a prime number. And 9323 is a prime number. You can keep doing this. You can keep chunking off sections of pi into prime numbers. And there's an interesting thing, because if you have a prime number, or rather if you have a number and you want to know if it's a prime number, the bigger it is, the less likely it is to be prime. Okay? So if you have a 1-digit number, there are 4 1-digit prime numbers out of 9 possible 1-digit numbers. So about 44% of 1-digit numbers are prime. For 2-digit numbers, it's about 22%, because there are fewer of them. For 3-digit numbers, it goes down to 16%. So as you get longer and longer, the chances of your number being prime get smaller and smaller. So if you go for a few digits without hitting a prime number, the chances of the next one becoming prime is less and less. And what that means is that when you have a number like pi, which in itself is a fascinating number, it's the ratio of a circle's circumference to its diameter, it's got this brilliant string of random digits that goes on forever and we don't know where. If you take a number like pi and look for prime numbers like this, sometimes slightly weird things happen. And in this case, the next number there that is a prime number is 3,057 digits long. How good is that? How good is that? Do you want me to stop now? I will stop on that, because that is a fantastic fact. Thank you very much.
Katie, thank you. I said her name was now kind of likes cake test. She obviously likes pie test more. So take nothing away from her. That was the additional, indivisible, multiply-talented Katie Steckel. She is both commutative and associative, and there is no higher compliment for a mathematician. Now, while Katie was away winning us over through numerical superiority, you saw by that subtle series of hand signals that she was vaguely aware that the judges must have reached a deliberation. So can we please welcome back our soon-to-be triumphal triumvirate, Tom Thompson, Matt Taylor, and our chair, Jill Samuels. Harder or easier, Matt, than landing a small object on a very distant comet?
Much harder.
Okay,
Yes.
It's good to know. We'll quote you on that later.
Just like a mosquito landing on a human, basically.
Yes, okay. And can we also get the 3 people with the rewarding task of giving the prizes up here? And that is, again, Louise Emerson from Cheltenham Festivals, Caroline Stockman from the British Council, and Bob Fenton from FameLab sponsors EDF. Good. Now we're going to start with the prize that we can all agree is democratic, deserved, and a crowd pleaser, and that is our audience vote winner. So to announce who it is and hand over the trophy and the certificate and the bubbly, it is falls to you. I've got an envelope and a microphone to juggle with there. So can we please thank again CEO for Cheltenham Festivals and my warm-up act for tonight, Louise Emerson.
I don't think I'm really meant to say anything, but thank you to you all. That was a really good evening. I always find it quite difficult to sit in a seat for very long, but not on these occasions. I absolutely
Hang on. Before you...
FameLab.
You're the chair of Cheltenham Festivals and you find it difficult to sit in a seat for very long. Are you in the right job?
Okay, so disease is an allergy, a wobbly black hole, a millipede and a shrimp and 3 brains. What's it going to be? It's the millipede. Francois!
François Xavier Joly. François Xavier, well done. I think I can safely say the majority of people here agree with that decision, unless FIFA somehow got involved in the voting. Now we get on to the more contentious business of what our 3 judges have decided. As I said, it's an impossible task, and they, I think, have done their best not to screw it up too badly. Jill, Matt, Tom, before you kind of name names, how was all this FameLabulousness, and how on earth did you go about sifting it down to 3 from 9?
Well, it's always a difficult task because we're presented with some very high standards here, and it must be quite a challenge for the presenters because they're actually asked to select a subject which they've not presented before. So it's a very impressive selection of people and a surprisingly economical use of props. Quite often we see more props in the final, I seem to recollect.
You sound a touch disappointed.
Well,
I mean, by the props, not the standards.
Well, I mean, a live lobster that one could have done something with afterwards, or and you know, what was the name of the millipede that really impressed you? You know, it did make questioning difficult.
I would like to point out that the live lobster came all the way from Australia, and there would have been probably customs issues involved and all sorts of things as well. Okay, time to move from the abstract to the concrete. Now, from the kind of, in a way, they're all winners to, in fact, only 2 of them will be runners-up, and 1 of them will be an actual winner. Can you give us the names of our joint runners-up, and then Caroline Stockman, Chief Finance Officer for the British Council, and on the Executive Board, you will present them with their many prizes.
So you'll remember, folks, that we're asked to judge on content, clarity, and charisma. And for us, there were 2 clear people who had that, and it was a difficult choice in terms of who were the runners-up. And our selection is Lillian Smurstad and François Xavier Joly. Lillian, not only for the clarity of her presentation and the clarity of her answers, but for being brave to be the first person on the stage, which is quite a difficult thing on something like this. Great.
And Caroline, I just think you wanted to say a little from the British Council.
Just a few words, just to keep you in more suspense before we find out who our final winner is. I'm relatively new to the British Council, so I was introduced to FameLab just in February when I was in Belfast. And saw an excellent talk on kissing at that point from Ema, which was lovely. And I'd gone along thinking, you know, that this is a competition. Communication, scientists, seems simple enough. And when I got there, I realised it's actually something quite different and much deeper than that. I met people who, for instance, had come over the border from Dublin, previous competitors who'd come to show solidarity, who wanted to network, and that's what it's really about. It's about the networking. It's about building a community of FameLabbers. It's the training and mentoring in communication skills that's so important. I can really relate to that. As Chief Financial Officer, you can imagine you guys might be called finance geeks. Well, I'm the evil finance policing witch. So, I mean, you have to learn communication skills because actually anything you know technically is wasted if you can't explain it to somebody else. And that's what you did fantastically this evening. We've been really proud as British Council to partner with Cheltenham Festival since 2007, and so much credit goes to them for having come up with this fantastic concept. For us, it really meets with our purpose, which is all around cultural relations. I just finally want to say, this community, people working together internationally, because British Council, we've really tried to help to bring it internationally, and now, you know, FameLab has been in 30 different countries around the world, which is fabulous. But I think this actually brings us above politics and makes the world a better place. So well done, all of you, and keep it up.
Caroline Stockman, thank you. And now, if I'm allowed to use your own words, we move from the witch to the watch, because it's the winner of the Apple Watch. Sorry, you did set me up for that one as well. So this is the final decision of the night, the final of the final, who has won the big prize. We're going to hear from Jill Samuels. It falls to you to say who. And then Bob Fenton, Head of Communications and Timepieces at EDF. Our sponsors will be handing over the goodies. Jill, time to break hearts and make days.
Well, in terms of content, for reminding us of a significant world problem, in terms of clarity, in terms of the way in which it was presented, and in terms of being the most charismatic parasite I've ever met, Oskari Vinko.
He was trying to eliminate malaria. There he was. And let's get all the FameLabbers up here as well. Come on, FameLabbers, come on up. Come on up. Come and share in the applause. Oscar, it falls to me. Smudgy, step forward, step forward. There is a small ritual here. Come on. You're safe now. The fireworks have gone off. That's what this blue line was. Do not cross this blue line. All evening has been about not crossing that blue line in case we got incinerated. You nearly killed off malaria right there as you came on stage. Oscar, you're now not just a champion, and you're not just the champion of champions, but our International FameLab 10th anniversary grand champion, part of this amazing network. Do you just now feel like going out there and wiping out a killer disease?
I think I'm just might go and do it. I mean, with your help, of course. We need to tell everybody that we really have to go and defeat the malaria. He's really evil.
And that is it. There'll be tears now and beers imminently, so we will not prolong the goodbyes, but need to thank everyone who's taken part in this year's international finals, not just the 9 brilliantly talented people who are on this stage, and of course the judges, but all 27 of them that we saw in the semi-finals, and each and every one is a top talent, including the judges. I'm only joking. Now, we're also emanating a powerful electromagnetic pulse of gratitude to Cheltenham Festivals and to the British Council for conceiving and nurturing and raising FameLab from a single cell idea to the globe-trotting 10-year-old it has now become. And particular thanks to Tim Slingsby from British Council and Joe James from Cheltenham Festivals for making tonight happen. Also, huge thanks to our sponsors EDF for making this not just something to watch, but something with a watch. And to all... It was at the end, I thought I could get away with it. And to all our national and international partners, and also to Matthew Tosh from Skyburst for the amazing, although slightly life-threatening fireworks. That is it. The first decade of FameLab is over and a new dawn begins. And that new dawn is under our new grand international champion, Oskari Vinko. And now Oskari will do his traditional victor's dance. No, that's it. That is over. It is over. Make your way out. There are lives to lead. Thank you for coming. We'll be back next year with all new FameLabbers.